The competitive landscape where Ethical Ocean sits has kind of shifted a lot since we started. When we started the company, there were very few people who were doing what we were doing. There were some, maybe about 2 or 3 other companies. And I think the competition that we're going to see in our market kind of comes in waves. About a couple years after we started Ethical Ocean, maybe a year after we started to see a lot of market entrants. And then just recently, probably in the past 6 months, we've started to see a lot of market exits. So companies that have gone out of business or have shifted their focus, who just don't have the longevity that they would need to continue operating. And now, actually right now, we're seeing market entrants again. So a lot of new companies, I think every day we find out about a new competitor who's entering the market. So we're kind of now in the upswing of that wave after we saw a downswing about 6 months ago. I think the key for Ethical Ocean about how do we stay, how do we stay relevant into our market, and how do we make sure that what's happening to the competitors who've exited doesn't happen to us, is we need to find a way to make the company exist. What we've seen with our competitors is that they've taken a lot of risks, or they're not planning for, if things go badly, a long-term viability to stay operating. And for us, it's sort of, we're always looking at, okay, how do we make sure that we're going to be here a year from now, maybe a year and a half from now? What are our options? What do we need to put in place to make sure that happens if things don't necessarily go our way? And then the other way on how we stay relevant is that we need to stay consistent with our brand. We see a lot of the people who have exited the market, when things started to get tough, started to switch what their focus is, started to switch what their value proposition is, and in my opinion, probably confused their customer base, and just kind of hastened their exit. So for us, it's a question of staying the course. And sometimes you need to change, sometimes you need to adapt to the market, but there's always that balance between how you should stay the course and keep your brand consistent versus taking up a new opportunity or staying relevant as the market is evolving. I mean, the interesting thing with the ethical consumerism market is it really, when we started the company, it's kind of like the Wild West. There wasn't much going on. There wasn't much knowledge about it. A lot of the early research that was done into it was being done at that time. And now that the market is kind of establishing itself and becoming more evolved and becoming more well understood, it's providing a lot of kind of nuances that we may not have thought about at the beginning. So there's a lot of changes going on in ethical consumerism, but just in online consumerism in general, that we want to stay abreast of. But the question is, what's going to detract us from our focus so much that we won't be able to be successful, and what's going to keep us on track and be kind of symbiotic with our core value proposition to our customers? And that's the tension that we have to deal with when we're looking at how to stay relevant.
And these competitors, are they basically all online sites that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing, bringing in different products from various suppliers?
Some of our competitors are marketplaces or retailers, like we aim to be, and they have different suppliers, and they kind of do it a little differently. Some do a deal type of structure, where they try to find low-priced ethical goods, and they're circulating different deals every week to their customer base. Some do subscription-based services, where you buy one product, but you actually get a delivery of it every month. You buy a box on a theme and you get different products every month within that theme. Some are actually content sites. Some are just kind of writing articles and trying to promote ethical consumerism, or even just ethical living through articles that they write and put on their site. So there's a bunch of different categories that our competitors could be in. The interesting thing is we're not seeing that one category is doing better than the other category. We're kind of, when the wave kind of crashes down and people start to exit the market, it's kind of broadly across all of the different categories of our competitors. But we do view all these different categories as competition with us in some way. I mean, we have our own online magazine, so that kind of allows us to compete with the content sites. We have our own products that we offer, so that allows us to compete with the marketplaces. And we're now starting to dabble in some of the subscription areas. So that's more for us to understand it, but we're now starting to compete with some of the subscription providers too.
So are there any sites that have tried to replicate what you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have, and I can never prove them, but I have my theories that there's been a bunch of sites out there and a bunch of companies out there that have kind of ripped off our model and sort of taken a snapshot off it and tried to evolve it. The interesting thing about that is that I don't think you can ever totally replicate one company. It's like you never see a second Walmart that is exactly Walmart in business. You usually snapshot what you think a company looks like at a time, and as soon as you snapshot it, you diverge and you take it in a different direction and you evolve it differently. So yes, I think there's been lots of companies that have at particular points in time taken snapshots of what they think we are and tried to run with it, but they start to diverge, and at which point it's good because they're not doing exactly what you're doing, but it's scary because maybe they're going to find something that we haven't found yet that's going to work better for them. So it's always in the back of our minds saying, it's like, okay, these companies, they're looking at what we're doing and they're going to potentially innovate on it. How do we also bring that sense of innovation to what we're doing to make sure that we're not staying stagnant? We're not just going to kind of be pushed out by the new ideas that are coming in. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's a form of flattery, and it's a very scary thought too.